Hello again, I'm Dina Akasha. Assalamu alaikum. I'm back again, and today we are going to discuss negative powers or indices. We are going to discuss negative powers or indices. Now, first, let's just start by an introduction of how do we get negative powers and what do negative powers mean. Now, I'm actually going to do a little experiment with you, and I want you to try, everyone, to place this number over here on the calculator, 3 power negative 3. Now, if you actually place this number over here, and let me remind you that this 3 over here is called the base, and this 3 is called the power or the index, and sometimes in books they call it an exponent as well. Now, if you actually decide to place this on the calculator, I will guarantee you that the answer is going to be a positive answer. Plus VE means positive. And the answer, not just the answer is positive, but the answer as well is a fraction, which is 1 over 27, which is 1 over 27. So from this little experiment, I wanted to prove to you by using the calculator, and I'll actually show you now why is it positive. Now, by using the calculator, placing this number over here, 3 to the power of negative 3, I got a positive answer, and as well, this answer is a fraction. From this experiment, what I'm trying to tell you is that negative powers doesn't mean that your answer is negative. Negative power means that your answer is mainly a fraction, that your answer is a fraction. Now, let's try and understand now why is it positive? Why is it positive? Now, let me just start by this example over here. لو أنا جيت قلت لكم مثلا 3 to the power of 5 over 3 to the power of 8. For instance, let's just take this example as a start. Now, 3 to the power of 5 means that the 3 is multiplied 5 times. Now, I know that this might be a long introduction, but I just want to explain to you why is it a fraction. 3, يعني you can skip this part of the video if you don't wish, but I want you to hear it. 3 to the power of 5 means that 3 is multiplied 5 times, and 3 to the power of 8 means that the 3 is multiplied 8 times. خليني بس أعد 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, one more. And then, of course, we all know from previous years that when you have the same item multiplied up and down, you can just cancel out. يعني أنا I can cancel out 5 ثلاثات فوق مع 5 ثلاثات تحت. I can cancel out common factors, as you can see. So what remains in the numerator? What remains in the numerator is 1. And what remains in the denominator? What remains in the denominator is 3 multiplied 3 times. Now remember that 3 multiplied 3 times could be written as 3 to the power of 3, which is equal to 27. So what is my purpose from this experiment as a whole? My purpose is for you to know that 3 to the power of 3 to the power of negative 3 is equal to 1 over 3 to the power of 3, which is equal to 1 over 27. So basically what I'm trying to say now is that if I have this question over here, and the question doesn't say find a value, the question says change to positive power. The question says change to positive power. How do I change to positive power? Okay, to change to positive power. Now, this could be written as over 1. طبعا لأن احنا we know that in math, if you wish to change anything into a fraction, you can just add a denominator of 1. أنا ممكن أعمله over 1 قلبت بقى كده. If you want to change this to positive power, أخد دي أنزلها تحت. Change the position of 3 to the power of negative 3 from the numerator to the denominator. Okay, فدي هتنزل تحت. فلما تنزل تحت هتبقى ايه؟ positive 3. طيب, what remains in the numerator? What remains in the numerator is 1. So basically, if you want to change a positive power as we did over here, all I did is that أخدت دي ونزلتها تحت كده. ومن هنا عايزة أقول حاجة مهمة جدا جدا جدا. Okay? Please listen to this note carefully. Okay? If you wish, okay, let me just try and rewrite this again. If you wish to change the sign of the power, وخدوا بالكم يا جماعة إن إحنا مركزين على الباورز، مركزين على الاندسيز مش على البيز. If you want to change the signs of the power, change its position in the fraction. Change its position in the fraction. لو فوق نزله تحت ولو تحت طلعه فوق. يعني إيه؟ يعني again, if I have, for example, x to the power of -2, and please remember that what applies on letters applies on numbers, and I am required to change this into a positive fraction. Now this is a fraction because simply if I write it as over 1, it changes into a fraction. This is the numerator over here, and this is the denominator. This is the numerator and this is the denominator. Since this is a negative power وهي فوق في الفراكشن، لو أنا عايزاها positive أنزلها تحت. فهتبقى 1 over x squared. And this is what I mean. If you wish to change the sign of the power, change its position in a fraction. If it's a numerator, put as denominator. If it's a denominator, put as numerator. لو فوق نزلها تحت ولو تحت طلعها فوق. Let me give you another example. If I have this, for example, 2 over x to the power of -4, such a question. And I am required to change this into a positive power. Now, if you look, this item over here has a negative power, and the x over here is a denominator. So if I want to change the sign from -4 into +4, all I need to do is just send it up next to the 2. فهتبقى 2x to the power of 4. 2x to the power of 4. عشان كده أنا بقوم مزوداها هنا إيه؟ لو فوق نزله تحت، ولو تحت طلعها فوق. So this is all just an introduction. Now let's move on to some questions and different ideas related to this. And if you are using my notes, please open the notes to page number 63. This is the notes, page 63, if you are using my notes. Now let's look at questions number I and question number J. You'll notice that both questions are fractions, by the way, but this over here could be written as over 1. Please يا جماعة ما تنسوش الحتة دي خالص. But ال1 دايما ما بيعمليش مشكلة. Let's just focus on this question over here. Let's assume طبعا the questions will always be simplified. But let's assume that my objective is change to positive power. Change to positive power. Yani let's assume this is the question. Positive power. Okay? Now, from previous information, as we said, this could be written as over 1. Now, from previous information, you know that when we're dealing with indices, if you have brackets, what we do is that you take the power outside and you multiply by the powers inside. This is basically because in this question over here, we have brackets and then we have the power and then we have negative. So first you need to eliminate the bracket and remember that you multiply the power outside with the powers inside. So you end up with r to the power of 3 times -2 is -6. And then the t, multiply the powers of the t. -2 times -4 is +8. Now, actually, if you get a question like this in an exam and you keep it at this stage, it will be super correct. But you need to understand how would you change to positive if I wish to change to positive. Now, your concern is always with the letters that have negative powers. I don't have an issue with the T. I have an issue with an R. So If I wish to change this into positive power, then what do I do in this case? Now, as we said, anything over 1 could be written, and anything over 1, yeah, I mean, if I have any item I want to change it to a fraction, you can just write over 1, as you can see. And according to the note that we wrote on the whiteboard, if you wish to change the sign of the power, change the position in the fraction. I don't have any issue with the letter T, so the letter T remains in the numerator, as you can see. Now, as for the letter R, تمام? Now, since the letter R is in the numerator and the power is negative, change the position. تمام؟ يعني بما انه اللتر ار دي موجوده فوق والباور بتاعها نيجاتيف، وانا عايزه اغير الباور ده من نيجاتيف اخليه بوزيتيف، اغير مكانها في الفراكشن، فبما انها هي فوق او منزلاها تحت. So by shifting the r to the denominator, as you can see over here, it changes into positive power. It changes into positive power. Okay, now let's deal with questions in which the denominator is not equal to 1. Like in this case over here, which is equal to 4. Now, I'm going to solve this question using 2 methods. طبعا this is like the let's just say the complicated method. Okay, and then from in this part over here, I'm going to move to the shortcut. And of course, I want you to use the shortcut in all questions that deal with fractions. So this shortcut, we will use it in fractions that have negative powers. Here, I just want to explain to you what do we do in these sort of questions. يعني أنا هنا من باب الفهم بس قوي، يعني عايزة أفهمكم هنا إيه اللي بيحصل. So as you can see over here, we are dealing now, just to focus, we are dealing with fractions that have negative powers. Fraction that have negative powers. I'm going to first explain to you what do we do in this case, and then we are definitely going to use the shortcut later on. Now, in this question, as you can see over here, we have brackets, and then we have a power that is outside the bracket. So initially, if you remember, when we are dealing with fractions, you multiply the power outside, as we did in example I, with the powers inside, with the powers inside. بليز يا جماعه، بليز عشان الكومن ميستيك الرهيبه اللي الولاد بيعملوها ان هم يعملوا النيجاتيف هاف تايمز الفور. لا، انا مش بعمل نيجاتيف هاف تايمز 4، انا بعمل نيجاتيف هاف تايمز الباور بتاع الفور. So again, I'm just going to zoom this. Let me just zoom it because this is important for me. Okay, انزل بس تحت شويه. Now, the 4 has a power, which is the 1. And what I do initially is that I take the power outside and multiply by the powers of the items inside. So the bases will remain the same. The bases will remain the same. Okay, and now let's do the multiplication. Negative half times 2 is negative 1. And then negative half times 1, which is negative half. Multiply the power outside with the powers inside. According to what we said earlier, that if I want to change the sign of the power, I change the position of the item in the fraction. لو فوق هنزله تحت، لو تحت هطلعه فوق. يعني الX دي الباور بتاعها negative 1 وهي فوق. أنا عايزاها positive فهنزلها تحت. ال4 الباور بتاعها negative half وهي تحت. أنا عايزاها positive فهطلعها فوق. So again, as for the x, since the x has a negative power, as you can see, and since the x is a numerator, so if I wish to change the sign from negative 1 into positive 1, I have to change the position of the x from numerator to denominator. As a result, negative 1 changes into positive 1. The same thing applies for the 4. Since the 4 has a power of negative half, and since I want this negative half to be positive half, since I want this negative half to be positive half, and since the 4 is a denominator, so I have to send up as a numerator, and as a result, the negative half changes into positive half. Now I can just find the simplest form. This can be placed on the calculator. And in another video, we are going to discuss roots, sorry, not roots, fraction powers. Fraction powers. Now on the calculator, 4 to the power of half is equal to 2. And then x power 1 remains as x. And this is like the ايه اللي هو طريقة الفهم قوي ان انا بس ابقى فاهم انا بعمل ايه. طيب هل انا هحل كده في الامتحانات؟ Is this how I solve in exams? No, definitely not. In exams, we are going to use a shortcut, and this shortcut is to be used if I am dealing with fractions, and these fractions have negative powers. These fractions have negative powers. So let's take the same example and explain the shortcut. And then for the rest of the video, we are going to use this shortcut. When you're dealing with fractions that have negative powers, and as you can see, the powers inside, they both have the same signs, يعني they are both positive, okay? I can do this shortcut. شقلب واقلب. شقلب واقلب. يعني ايه شقلب واقلب؟ شقلب يعني flip the fraction. واقلب يعني change the sign outside from negative half into positive half. يبقى شقلب واقلب بستعملها امتى؟ بستعملها when I have a fraction that has a negative power. When I have a fraction with negative power. شقلب means اقلب الفراكشن زي ما انا عملت كده هنا، هقلبه بس عادي. واقلب معناها change the sign from negative into positive. So let me say this in English in case you did not get what I said in Arabic. Now, the shortcut is flip the fraction, and this is what I did over here. Flip the fraction without changing its signs, and then change the sides, the sign of the power outside from negative into positive. So flip the fraction, change the sign outside. And then I continue normally, multiplying the powers. So this changes into 4 power half over x power 1. And of course, as we said, you can place this on the calculator and you end up with the final answer, which is 2 over x. And by zooming out, you will find that the answers are exactly the same. So for the rest of the video, what are we going to discuss? We are going to discuss this shortcut over here, which is used if we have fractions with negative powers. So now I'm going to move on to the classified. This is your classified part 1. Classified part 1. Okay, and this is page number 4. And here the question says simplify fully. The question says simplify fully. Okay, let's just make sure that it's clear. Simplify fully 256x to the power of 20 to the power of negative 4 over y to the power of 8. So we are going to use the شقلب وقلب shortcut. شقلب وقلب shortcut. شقلب means flip the fraction. اقلب means change the sign outside from negative into positive. And just to be very, very clear in all the informations I say, we use this shortcut when all the powers inside have the same sign. يعني هنا, as you can see, ال 256 has a power of positive 1. X has a power of positive 20. Y has a power of positive 8. You can still use it if the powers have different signs, but you will have to go back بقى to اللي هي ايه, changing اللي هو لو فوق نزلها تحت ولو تحت طلعها فوق. So again, in this question over here, all the powers inside are positive and the power outside is negative. You need to always look at the fraction first in case there is a chance of simplifying. So here I will apply شقلب وقلب على طول. So flip the fraction, y to the power of 8 over 256 x to the power of 20. Flip the fraction, change the sign outside from negative into positive, from negative into positive. And then what do I do next? Let's identify the powers inside. I will point at them with an arrow. The y has a power of 8, the x has a power of 20. This number over here has a power of 1. So what I do is that, please يا جماعة, I multiply the powers. Multiply the powers. So in this case, actually I'm going to do it in details. هتبقى y to the power of 8 times 1 over 4. Multiply the power of the y with the power outside. 256 multiply the power with the power outside. لأنه بقى الcommon mistake الرهيبة بتاعة 256 times 1 على 4 دي. لا هي مش 256 times 1 على 4. هي 256 power 1 على 4. And then x, take the power of the x and multiply by the power outside. The power of the x multiply by the power outside. طبعا in exams we don't do this بقى خلاص. احنا we know the trick. You multiply the powers. You multiply the powers. You multiply the powers again. It's 256 power 1 على 4, not 256 times 1 over 4. Please be aware of these silly mistakes. So as a result, you end up with 1 over 4 times 8, which is 2. You can use your calculator. You don't have to prove anything mentally. And then 256 حتى أنا بعملها بالكالكوليتر أهو. Power 1 over 4, which is 4. And then x to the power of 1 over 4 times 20, which is 5. 1 over 4 times 20, which is 5. And here goes your final answer. Now let's select more questions related to negative powers. Let's select more questions related to negative powers. Oh, there is one over here. And actually there is a nice idea in this question over here. Okay. Now, as we can see, now the powers, if it's blurry a bit, y power 5, 8, x power 6, y power 8, and the power outside, as you can see, is negative. So let's do the checklist. Let's do some checks. First, identify the powers inside. All the powers inside are positive, and actually 99.9%, يعني most of all of the questions in your past papers, all the signs inside are the same. So in this case, I can شقلب وقلب immediately. And again, شقلب وقلب means flip the fraction and then change the power outside. Sorry, change the sign. عشان بس أبقى specific. Change the sign of the power outside. So let's do this initially. 8x to the power of 6, y to the power of 8 over y to the power of 5. And please remember that when you flip the fraction, you do not change the signs of the powers inside. You just change the sign of the power outside. So we flip the fraction and we change the power outside. Now, you can actually do the same. اللي هو multiply the powers. But what do you notice and what is different in this question? هنا. I can simplify the y together. Because if you actually multiply this now, you will get fraction numbers which are يعني annoying. And طبعا some of the students have يعني a huge crush on decimals. They change automatically to decimals and الدنيا بقى بتبوظ. So please always be aware, if there is a chance of simplifying letters, please do so. So now the power outside, I'll keep it as it is because there is nothing to be done. As for the 8, برضو, there is nothing to be done about it. إلا إن أنا أخد بالي بس that the power here is 1. Now the x is kept as x power 6. Now as for the highlighted letters, since I have the same base, and according to previous information, when you have same base and there is division over here, you are allowed to subtract the powers. So I can simplify the y's together into y power 3. Division, same letter, I can subtract the powers. And now, خلاص بقى, I can do as I did in the previous questions, take the power outside, multiply by the powers inside. And again, it's not 8 times 1 على 3. This is a huge mistake. It's 8 to the power of 1 على 3. And then x to the power of 6 times. I'm going to circle the items that you multiply. So third times 1, third times 6, and then third times 3. And of course, this over here could be placed on the calculator if you don't know the information that 1/3 is cubic root, and then you will get this final answer over here, which is 2x squared y. So flip the fraction because all the powers inside are positive, and this is what we did over here. And then we changed the sign from negative to positive. We had the chance of simplifying these y's together, so I did. And then I multiplied the power outside with the powers inside, and this is the answer that I got. Now, this video actually is going to be a short video because we're just going to solve one more question related to negative powers, and then there will be another video about roots. There will be another video about roots. Now, where is the question? Rahfin. This is the last question that we're going to solve in this video over here related to negative powers, So please pay attention. And this is in your classified. Did I mention what page was it that we did the other example? Oh, Rahfin. This one. لا مش ده عملناه already on the page 4. So this is this one over here. I did not mention the page. So this as well, we are in the same classified, which is classified number 1. This is page 2. Classified number 1. This is page number 2. Now the last question that we are going to do together is Rahfin. Let me find it. Just take This is page 6. Classified part 1, page number 6. Please pay attention, as this is the last time I'm going to explain questions related to negative powers. Questions related to negative powers. Okay, so first let's do the checklist. Now the checklist is check all the items inside and check the powers. 125 has a power of positive 1. E has a power of positive 12. 27 has a power of positive 1, and F has a power of positive 3. So since all the powers inside have the same sign, then you must use the flip and change sign shortcuts, اللي هي شقلب وقلب. So what I do now is that I flip the fraction, and please remember that when you flip the fraction, you do not, actually I'm going to write the letters, the powers with different color. So flip the fraction, 125 E, and please remember that when you flip the fraction, you don't change the signs of the powers. You keep the signs as it is. So flip the fraction and then change the sign outside from negative into positive. This is step number 1. So we did the same sign, check, and then عملنا شقلب وقلب. Step number 2 is that see if there is any chance of simplifying. As we did in the previous example, there was a chance of simplifying the letters, the letter Y, if you remember. طيب هنا, do you think there is a chance of simplifying? Let's see. Now, the F, ما فيش F تحت, so the F remains as it is. E, مفيش E, so the E remains as it is. I can simplify this numerical part. 27 divide 125, and actually how do I divide يا جماعة? Actually this is simplified. Okay. طيب يعني if let's assume مثلا إنه it was 25 over 125. فأنا هنا if there is a يعني if this was 25 over 125, then I can simplify it. But in this case, لا ما فيش. So 27 over 125, this is the simplest form already. خلاص. Now بقى, what do I do? Multiply the power outside with every power inside. Multiply the power outside, أهو ده, with every power inside. So this will change into 27 power 2 over 3. F to the power of 3 times 2 over 3, which is 2, over 125 to the power of 2 على 3, مش 125 times 2 على 3. And then, as for the E, you multiply the power of the E times 2 over 3. So 12 times 2 over 3, which is 8. Now you need to do all the numerical part on the calculator, this and this. Okay? يا ريت ما نستعملش mental skills. So equals, on the calculator, 27 power 2 over 3, which is 9. And the F remains as it is. And then 125 power 2 over 3, which is 25, and the E remains as it is. And please, ya jama'a, if you don't know, now on the calculator, there's this button over here, x to the power of a square. Now this button you can use to insert any power that you wish. So let's go again, كده. A quick summary on what we did in this question. First, we did the checklist and we checked that all the powers inside are positive. أكدنا على فكرة إن ال 125 وال 127 they both have a power of 1, positive 1. So I was allowed to do شقلب وقلب على طول. So what I did is that I flipped the fraction in this step over here without changing the signs of the powers of the fraction. I only changed the sign of the power outside. And then I checked this numerical part in case there was a chance of simplifying like the previous question that contained the letter Y. So we found that 27 over 125, this is already in the simplest form. And then what I did is that I took the power outside and I multiplied it by the power. 2 over 3 times 1, 2 over 3 times 3, 2 over 3 times this one over here, and 2 over 3 times the 12. And I took the numerical part on the calculator and I kept the letters as they are. And there is your final answer. So mainly this is everything that you need to know about negative powers. I hope that this video was useful to you. And I'm glad that it's long. I'm sorry if some of my videos are long, but it's just that I like to give all the information. Now I'll see you soon in another video. Thank you. Bye.